This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast, and it's a jam-packed one. We've got a ton of news and notes. Basically, we're going to go through a WWE injury update because, geez Louise, they're dealing with some injuries. We've got Survivor Series. We're going to give our predictions on that. Also, we're going to review Raw and SmackDown. Doing this with me, as always, he is the one. He is the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. Welcome to the show.
You know that me and Becky Lynch got something in common?
You're the man?
We're both the man.
Yeah.
Great stuff this week.
Dude, she is amazeballs.
What an amazing week of wrestling. I always like it when our ideas kind of just come alive on television. Raw was awesome. SmackDown was awesome. Major news happened on both shows. It was crazy week of wrestling. One in which I don't think we've seen in a long time. I think they had to do it to set up the love and passion that you would need to get excited for Survivor Series. What a week. Wow, cuz.
Absolutely. Let's start with Monday Night Raw. So we open up the show. We've got, it's just a Battle Royal tag team match that Braun Strowman quickly interrupts. From this, Corbin, Stephanie, Ronda, Braun, they're all in the ring cutting promos on each other. Did you like this open? It really didn't seem forced. It seemed pretty good. It kind of gave you what you like. You like when we open up with wrestling immediately. You had that. You had Braun come in, look like he was a powerhouse, started clearing dudes out. Next thing you know, we got to jibber-jabbering on the microphones. And Braun's going to get what he wants. He wants to go back after Corbin, and he wants a WWE Universal title shot. He's going to get both of those. Stephanie kind of sided with Braun. Said as long as you wrestle for Team Raw, we're gonna give you those things. Ronda came out, cut another very good promo. Said she didn't need to be any more jacked up than she already is for taking on Becky Lynch. We've got updates on what's going on with Becky Lynch because geez Louise, Nia Jax sucks ass. What'd you think of all this?
Obviously, sometimes
you hate promos.
Yeah, I do. But it's the thing with Stephanie McMahon and her role now in WWE. I'm not sure I'm down for her to be the authority figure again and her playing her part, but obviously you got to reestablish Braun Strowman and his character, so I was okay with it, but just going forward long term, you don't need Stephanie McMahon to be the authority figure, but I did like the fact that she explained what happened with Shane McMahon on SmackDown, so that was good, and then setting up the show for Raw. I think it's fine, no problems.
Yeah, I thought it was decent. We end up getting a Corey Graves, Seth Rollins interview in the ring. Now, this gets interrupted by Dean Ambrose being all Dean Ambrose, and it was pretty awesome. He was sitting on a red car next to a oil drum that was on fire. Very Dean Ambrose. He goes on to say how being part of the Shield made him weak, and being alone, he's much stronger than he ever was in a group. What'd you think of all this? I thought this came off very, very well. Like, Dean Ambrose is the master at cutting these weird, antisocial, kind of crazy promos. Seth Rollins in the ring was taken aback, was pissed. Corey Graves did his part. I thought this all played out really, really well. It adds another layer to what they've got going, and it's going to be a developing story that I think we'll finally see play out at WrestleMania.
I think more of the same. I like the fact that Dean Ambrose has been given some time backstage and more creativity. And just like Becky Lynch, when the right person gets the right gimmick and the right production behind it, you now have a feud that you can be invested in. Prior to, maybe you could have said I was lukewarm about Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. They're doing a good job of elevating my interest in that feud. Keep it going. I think Dean Ambrose can take a big step in 2019. He's poised, if he stays healthy, for a big run. He can do a lot of things. He can take this character a lot of different ways. A great segment.
Totally agree. Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler are now in the ring. They're cutting promos on the WWE Universe. This is when Finn Balor comes down to tell Drew he was wrong for the way he treated Kurt Angle. Drew eventually volunteers Dolph Ziggler for a match and says, if you beat him, I'll fight you, but you got to get by Dolph first. At this point, Dolph was less than pleased, which I think is awesome because this is that little seed. They're dropping little nuggets here and there to show a split coming between these two guys. Dolph may turn face while Drew becomes much, much more heel. I did like this setup. Balor goes on to get the win here. It was a very good match between the two. Overall, what'd you think of this?
I liked it because you're starting to plant the seeds a little bit of Dolph Ziggler splitting from Drew McIntyre, because what happened was Finn Balor comes out and then Drew McIntyre volunteers Dolph Ziggler for the match, and you look and you see Dolph Ziggler, he's not exactly happy.
He's not pleased.
And it's great to see a first-time match. Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler should have been a great match, and it was. I was definitely okay with it, and I think that in terms of these two guys, it's great to, like we said, what did we ask for in the last few weeks? Elevate the mid-card guys, tell good stories. Creative has to do a better job of not just giving quality segments to the top-end people, but the mid-card people also have to have great, compelling storylines, and they pulled it off with this match, and I thought it was great.
Next, we get the Riot Squad. They're addressing the WWE Universe. Everybody's talking to the WWE Universe, apparently, today.
Yes, right?
This brings out Natty. She ends up getting pummeled by the Riot Squad. After that, we've got Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. They're going to be the captains of the Raw Tag Team for Survivor Series after winning a Battle Royal of essentially B-list talent. That's kind of what it is. That's what the Raw Tag Team division is at this point. It's a lot of B-listers and nobody who you really give two craps about. We then get Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman. They come down and they start cutting a promo. Jinder Mahal comes out. He wants to teach Brock how to meditate. For his troubles, he'll get an F5. Same thing with the Singh brothers. I thought this was effective. I thought this was decent. It's a very Brock Lesnar promo. It's Paul Heyman doing all the heavy lifting and Brock bouncing around and then hitting people with F5s. In and out. Thought it was decent. What'd you think?
It's interesting because at some point we'll definitely discuss Paul Heyman and what kind of valet he has been, what kind of advocate he has been, because arguably you could say that many people hate Brock Lesnar, but when he comes out, the crowd always pops. Mm-hmm. People are engaged with what he says. That's a guy that's really underrated. I know that people definitely love to hate him. They love to hate Brock Lesnar. But when you just see when he comes out, I want to hear what he has to say, good or bad. He basically is carrying that character of Brock Lesnar. And I just wish maybe that they would expand upon that a little bit more. I think Paul Heyman can be a big part of a show that can be interesting in terms of, coming in and out of the ring, talking, maybe sometimes calling matches. The guy's got personality, and he just has something that is it. That when he comes out and he delivers his message with whoever he's feuding with, the promo against Jinder Mahal was great, and just the backdrop of him screaming his head off with Brock Lesnar bouncing around. It's not old to me. I like it. I like Paul Heyman, and I think he's right up there in that Bobby Heenan class. It's like Bobby Heenan, Paul Heyman, right then and there. Right there, Hall of Fame valets and advocates. I think it's great. I just wish that they would allow him to advocate for more people than just Brock Lesnar, but great segment.
He's in the top three of managers and on-screen characters that pretty much only talk on a microphone. He's exceptional. All right, this brings us to our main event, which was between Bayley and Sasha Banks. The winner will join Mickie James, Tamina, Nia Jax, and Natty as Alexa Bliss's handpicked 5 for Survivor Series. Now, this was all a setup as the Riot Squad ends up coming out, and all 4, or I should say all 3, because Natty did not jump in on this, all 3 end up jumping Sasha Banks, and Bayley beat them down in the ring. In the end, we cut to a backstage scene where we've got Becky Lynch being the most badass thing on the planet.
Just like Doc said last week, baby, you got to elevate the SmackDown crew. Becky Lynch showing up on Raw was perfect. You didn't need the men. You needed to do it with the women, and it was written beautifully. All the way around, Creative gets an A+ for how they executed this whole thing. Now, arguably, unfortunately...
Well, wait, before you go further, let us explain how it's executed. She's in the back, and she's got Ronda Rousey on the ground, and she looks like she is about to break her arm with the armbar. In the end, she gets up after multiple people come in and pull her off of Ronda. Ronda is selling the injury. It's great. Everything's awesome. She comes out to her own music. Now, in the ring, you've got everybody from Raw, right? You got the women from Raw hanging out. She walks out by herself. And this is the most boss move you see. She comes out to her own music. She throws her arms up in the air, and she's like, the man is here. basically saying, if you want some, come get some, because I'm right here. It was all a ruse, all a distraction. Through the crowd comes the rest of the SmackDown roster, and they start attacking. Now, this is where things get a little bit sideways. So you're in the ring, and things are going according to plan, but Nia Jax is there. Nia Jax is a big lummox, and she's horrible at her job. Why she still has a job, I'm assuming only because The Rock is her cousin. Otherwise, I've got no idea. Nia Jax cold cocks Becky Lynch
legitimately
right in the face, breaking her nose, possibly causing skull fractures. I mean, you seen her face on Tuesday. I'm almost certain she's got fractures in her head up around her eye. You know, she could have an orbital bone fracture. I'm not sure. But it looks so bad. She is bleeding everywhere. She takes this punch, gets knocked down. You see her check her nose. As I put my hand in front of the microphone, she checks her nose and feels the blood, and then kind of feels her face. She shakes it off. Let me punch you in the face when you're not expecting it, and you tell me how you shake it off. She shakes it off, gets up because the show must go on, and she just starts throwing rights, lefts, and continuing to do what she does up until Ronda Rousey comes out with her mangled arm, who gets in the ring, and she starts attacking parts of the SmackDown roster, which then prompts Becky Lynch to roll out of the ring, go grab a chair, jump back in the ring, and then handle business with a chair. She takes out Ronda with a chair. Mind you, the whole time, nose is just bleeding everywhere. She's taking blood, and she's like throwing it off to the side with her fingertips. She's got it smeared up and down her arms. It's all over her face. I don't think I've ever been more turned on and attracted to a chick than I was when this was going on, because good God, it was hot. She was such a boss in this. She just got punched in the face, legit punched in the face. Her nose is broken. She has a concussion. She possibly has skull fractures. Yet, she is doing her job, and she ends up taking out Ronda Rousey. She's bleeding everywhere, and she just embraced it. She took it, she smeared paint or blood all over her face, and she just rolled through the crowd, and she stood up at the very, very top, arms spread wide, and was like, you want some? Come get some. It was amazing.
Irish war paint, and it goes to show you the culmination of the work that the women have done to try and get over. And now you can argue legitimately that Becky Lynch is the most over superstar, man, male or female, in the company. And that's a testament to her to get that over. Irish war paint is a vision now that will be remembered, an iconic scene in 2018, one in which hopefully her injury is not going to keep her out of the ring too much. It's unfortunate because now, because of the injury, you know, there's going to be some ramifications for Survivor Series, which you'll explain later. But it's unfortunate. Nia Jax has got to do a better job. But there could be silver linings in the way this happened, because Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey can be redone, and the hype train can be a little bit more than just a week. Yeah. I think it's great that this has happened, and Becky Lynch deserves to ride this wave and continue to be the most over character in the company. It's really great. It made Raw one where you went, wow, finally, a week in which the talent, the mid-card, all came together. You only had a couple moments that were kind of throwaway. Elias and Bobby Lashley, the tag team battle royal, not too much interest there, but overall, 3 hours, if you invested in watching Raw, was worth it. It was exciting.
I will say this much. It was a very B-, maybe C+ level Raw up until this part, up until Becky Lynch comes out. Becky Lynch made Monday Night Raw. It should be Monday Night Becky Lynch. That's how good it was. She put it over the top. It was exceptional. She took a bad spot and owned it and made it her own, and she thrived in it. And the crowd thrived in it, and they bought in. When she was hitting Ronda with the chairs, they were cheering. Ronda's supposed to be a babyface. Everybody is behind Becky Lynch. She is the hottest thing in wrestling right now. Let's go over to SmackDown. AJ Styles comes down, starts a promo about him and Brock Lesnar. This is when Paul Heyman magically appears, just kind of shows up. Paul ends up name-dropping Daniel Bryan a few times, who ends up coming out from the back and basically tells AJ Styles to keep his name out his mouth. Of course, AJ drops a Daniel Bryan reference. This leads to a brawl, which is our setup for the main event, which will be the WWE Championship on the line between Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. Also, with all of this going on, Daniel Bryan has now been removed from the Survivor Series teams due to his recent actions. He's been kind of a loose cannon lately, and Shane McMahon and the rest of the team not really sure how to handle him. So most of this SmackDown was set up around trying to find a adequate replacement for Daniel Bryan. We then have a solid match between Andrade Cien Almas versus Jeff Hardy. Hardy wins via pinfall after a swanton dive. This win gets Hardy on the Survivor Series team, and he replaces the recently removed Daniel Bryan. Thought it was a good match. It did its job. Didn't really, I don't know, it wasn't anything special. I just thought it was very good. Miz tries to remove Rey Mysterio from the Survivor Series squad. This leads to a match. Paige is like, no. You want him gone, you guys are going to have to fight about it. If Rey wins, he stays on the team. If Miz wins, Rey is off the team. Or in my notes, I have if Mix wins. I have no idea what I was doing. Rey rolls up Miz to stay on the squad and avoids an RKO from Randy Orton, who came from out of nowhere when this match was finally said and done. Miz, however, was not so lucky. Do you like Rey Mysterio being on this squad? I think having Rey makes things a little bit more interesting. He adds another dynamic element. I think Rey being on the squad is more or less for the fans. What do you think?
Exactly. I like the way that he's been utilized. Good matches. It's just kind of like, you know what, when a superstar is at the level of Rey Mysterio, just seeing him in feuds is great. And I think that he can add definitely a great layer to the Survivor Series team for SmackDown, and good for Rey Mysterio. And I like that when you add new characters in to bring them back, you can have them feuds and have matches like Rey Mysterio versus The Miz. Even though we've seen it in the past, it's still good to see and relive, especially where they're at now. And I like Rey Mysterio. I think he's still got all the tools needed to be a superstar, and credit to him, man. It's sometimes it's not easy to come back, and he's doing a great job. I think he'll be a great addition, and it'll make for a great match.
Absolutely. Next, we have all the women on the SmackDown roster in the ring. Paige calls them all out one by one. Finally, she calls out Becky Lynch. This is a pretty emotional segment. Becky Lynch goes on to say that all she wanted to do was kick Ronda Rousey's ass, and it's going to happen, just not at Survivor Series. She goes on to basically say how everything she's been doing has been building to this moment. All that being said and done, she now has to pick somebody who's going to fight in her stead because she's not medically cleared to fight. She has a concussion. She has a broken nose. Like I said, it's believed she has a skull fracture because if you've seen her face, it looks like it. She ends up going through everybody in line. They're all lined up. She goes through everybody. And she did a great job remaining in character, being a heel through all of this. She ends up coming back and she picks Charlotte. And this, I thought this was awesome because she did kind of break character a little bit. She ends up hugging Charlotte and you can see her whisper something in her ear. Before that, she told her to go to Survivor Series to beat Ronda Rousey the way she was going to beat her, break her arm, make her tap out. And after that, she gives her that deep hug, and you could see her just telling her something in her ear. After all of this, Charlotte's caught in the background with, I think it was Charlie Caruso, who interviews her, and basically Charlotte gets a little emotional. There's a part there where she had to catch herself. I don't know if you caught that or not, but she goes on to say that she spent most of the year fighting against Becky Lynch. Now she's going to go to Survivor Series and fight for Becky Lynch. It was pretty good. It was all done very, very well. You basically took chicken shit because of Nia Jax and you made chicken salad.
Now, most people did know and were aware that Becky Lynch was not going to be there. So it let everybody speculate what's going to happen. How are you going to replace this great match? It was supposed to be Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey.
Mind you, I think this was the only match that was worthy of getting the pay-per-view for.
Exactly.
I wasn't invested in anything else.
So here's the problem, okay? I think that obviously you have to replace it with someone, but having Charlotte Rousey right away, you kind of, what are people looking for? People are starting to clamor for maybe a women's match to main event WrestleMania. A first-time match, Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey, could have a month build. You could do it, and you could maybe even sell it as the closing match at a WrestleMania. But now you're kind of throwing it together real fast. I would have maybe done it differently where, you know what? She comes in there and says, even though I'm getting even though you may think I'm rough and things like that, I'm going with it. And you have Becky Lynch show up at Survivor Series, but then takes a beat down similar to what happened on Raw from Ronda Rousey, and there's no match. So you then can write her off for a couple weeks, and then you still save the opportunity for Charlotte and Ronda Rousey to be built up. Now it's thrown together, and now you ruin that first-time moment of a super fight, and I think that you could have done something different, or maybe given Ronda Rousey a different opponent. Charlotte is a marquee talent, and you could have maybe saved that match, and maybe for not this WrestleMania, but the one following, you could maybe sell it as a main event match that could close a show. But now it kind of loses luster. It's going to happen. Who's going to get over? I don't even know. Who thinks you go over?
What if you were to pivot though, and you were to do the women's match closing WrestleMania, but instead of Charlotte, it's Becky Lynch. Who's hotter in wrestling right now? Who's the most over thing in wrestling? It's Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch should be good to go by WrestleMania.
Okay.
You could pivot, and I think you could do that. You're just swapping Charlotte out. And I agree with you. Charlotte is a marquee name. She is a huge name. How would you feel about this? What if the match with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte, how it's been hastily put together because of everything, because, again, Nia Jax is trash. You guys are going to see a theme here. We should just title this Nia Jax is trash. What if this is the setup for the 4 Horsewomen versus 4 Horsewomen match that's been much talked about?
To main event, maybe WrestleMania?
Not main event WrestleMania, because I think with WrestleMania you want the singles match. But maybe what's before Mania? Fastlane?
Or maybe it's one after. I'm not exactly sure.
They've adjusted the schedule so much. So, but what if it is one of the matches before WrestleMania? What if that was the case? So you get your 4 Horsewomen match, which has been much bantered about, much talked about. Shayna Baszler is doing very well. A couple of the other girls, I can't remember, was it Jessica Drake, who I think is like the best out of all of them. Ronda Rousey's come a long way. And then you've got Bayley, Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha. You have all of them. I think this could work. I think there's a way to take what you don't like and give you something better. And you just have to be flexible and adjust with it. Let's move on to the main event. Main event was crazy.
Crazy. Wow.
Absolutely nuts. So we get another AJ Styles Daniel Bryan match for the WWE Championship, and it did not disappoint. It was a near fall after near fall. It was a big spot after a big spot. It was absolutely awesome. You should go check this out. All right. In the end, we have a desperate and what feels like he might be a heel Daniel Bryan, who ends up hitting AJ Styles in the balls. Then he hits a monstrous kick, gets the pin, and now we have a brand new champion.
1, 2, 3, 371-day reign of AJ Styles done.
Now, it wasn't just the fact that Daniel Bryan won, which was
shocking. Yeah, on television.
It was holy shit. Daniel Bryan just won. We had a title change. I don't like we had discussed before. Didn't think AJ Styles was going to lose until AJ Styles was ready to lose. So this was weird, and I think took us all aback just a little bit. But then Daniel Bryan goes on to be a full-fledged heel, starts kicking AJ Styles in the head. And when I say kicking him in the head, I mean holding his arm and pulling him up while sending his boot down to his skull repeatedly. Repeatedly. I thought it was awesome. I don't know if it's the right move, though.
I think it's great because of the fact that you shocked everybody, you made news, and you now have something that's on the back burner, AJ Styles getting the revenge, and it's an opportunity now to have that great heel versus a great face. And I like the fact that, look, that was such a great year for AJ Styles, but it was so fast. It was like the fastest year title reign I've ever seen. He went through so many opponents and did so many great things. And I like the fact that, you know what, if it was going to be somebody to take the title off of AJ Styles, it was Daniel Bryan, and then to have a surprise move. Because, too, the other part that people notice is that, you know what, Daniel Bryan first kind of established himself as a heel. And what better way to change it up than to come out and, you know what, actually go full heel in this moment before Survivor Series. I thought it was great all the way around, really well done, surprising, and executed well, and it makes for great content going forward. I love the way it went down, and I think that a heel Daniel Bryan is going to be awesome. It's going to be great.
I really wish it would have been... I like him turning heel, but I wish they would have drug it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I felt like this was kind of quick.
Hints it, yeah.
Because you had it... You had his actions last week, and you had the smile, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, you had the smile, and you're like, okay, cool, and then you had everything that took place last week, and then you had this week. If you could have maybe drug it out 2 more weeks, just dropping little hints that it was going to happen, and then it happens, I think that would have been awesome. But overall, I thought it was well done. I thought SmackDown was very, very good. I think both Raw and SmackDown both were saved by their main events.
Exactly.
Okay, you got to pick one, though. Which one are you watching?
If I'm going with the verdict of which show was better, I would go with SmackDown. I feel like when you have a major character like Daniel Bryan turn heel, that's a major event, and when the WWE champion, after 371 days, loses, that makes the show.
I think overall SmackDown was probably a better show, but Raw was really saved by what took place with Becky Lynch.
Great moment, too.
Yes. I think you have to see that. I'm going to split. I'm going to go Raw with half, and I'm going to give SmackDown half.
Both shows were great. You can invest the time, and it's great.
It was very good. If I have to pick one match in the Jock's match of the week, it's going to be the end of what took place on Monday Night Raw.
Definitely.
Because it has impact for both Raw and SmackDown.
Iconic moment. It's going to live forever.
Exactly. Now, I think Daniel Bryan beating AJ Styles was incredible. You should go check that out too. If I wish I had another one I could give, go check that out. Because both main events were absolutely incredible. Which then brings us to Survivor Series. We got to do our predictions.
Here we go.
All right. So we've got the Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar, versus the WWE Champion, Daniel Bryan. Who you
First
got?
time they'll be in the ring together. I think similar to last year, it's going to be Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I'm same deal. I think it's going to be Brock. Brock doesn't lose because it's freaking Brock, right?
Right.
Next, we've got the Raw Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey, going up against SmackDown's Charlotte Flair instead of Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch is dealing with a mangled face.
It would make sense that Ronda Rousey gets this win. I mean, champion versus champion. Charlotte's over. I think you can have it where Charlotte is so close to the victory, but Ronda's going to be over. I don't think you bring her into this kind of marquee matchup to have her lose. Ronda all the way.
Yeah, I think Ronda's gonna win it.
5-star match. People are going to talk about it. Ronda gets a W.
I could see some interference here, though. But I'm going to go with Ronda. But don't be surprised if, say, Nia Jax or Tamina was to get involved. I really don't know what they're going to do with Nia Jax. I know Vince is pissed because of what happened with Becky Lynch. But don't be surprised if Tamina and Nia Jax get involved, and maybe there's a DQ. Maybe Charlotte wins. Don't be surprised. Intercontinental Champion Seth Rollins versus United States Champion Shinsuke Nakamura.
This one speaks of some interference. Give me Shinsuke. You have to have Dean Ambrose come do some damage to Seth Rollins. Seth will dominate, probably be leading the match, but with some interference and some struggles, Shinsuke gets the surprise victory.
I feel the same way you do. I think Dean Ambrose is going to interfere, and because of that interference, Seth Rollins will get the win. I think we both see this playing out the same way. It's just a different, different victory for somebody. Survivor Series match. So this is the women's Survivor Series match. So this is going to be Natalya, Mickie James, Nia Jax, Tamina, and Ruby Riott versus SmackDown side, which is Sonya Deville, Carmella, Asuka, Naomi, and yet to be named member. Do you want to take a stab at who you think it might be?
I have no clue.
I have no idea either.
Any rumors you're hearing?
No, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
With that said, just the way it looks on paper, give me the SmackDown team. I think they're the better team, bigger name talent, and I think it'll be fine. The Raw team, maybe you punish Nia Jax a little bit for her actions. Tamina, Ruby Riott. Give me the SmackDown team.
Yeah, I'm going to go SmackDown as well. I think, like you said, just overall, better wrestlers, better characters. Go with SmackDown. Men's Survivor Series match now. So now you've got Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor. Now that's a squad going up against SmackDown, which is Shane McMahon, Jeff Hardy, The Miz, Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio. How do you see this playing out?
You got to have a tie, so give me the Raw team. I like the fact that when you got Braun Strowman, I'm not picking against him, so give me the Raw team all the way.
It's funny because I was sitting there last night and I was like, man, how do you pick against the Raw squad? Right. Like, you got Drew McIntyre, who is, believe me, guys, there's a rocket strapped to this dude's back. You will see it in the next coming weeks. Dolph Ziggler, who's great in the ring. Braun Strowman, I mean, he did get smushed by Brock Lesnar, which I think was stupid because it really crippled some of his momentum, but it's Braun freaking Strowman. Why are you going to pick against that guy? Bobby Lashley, they're still high on, and Finn Balor's a savage. I don't know how you pick against that team. We then have the Tag Team Survivor matches, which is Lucha House Party, The Revival, The Ascension, The B-Team, versus SmackDown, The Usos, The New Day, The Clones, The Good Brothers, and Sanity.
You'd be crazy not to pick the SmackDown team.
You'd be absolutely stupid.
Just the name talent alone.
Yes.
When you got the Ascension B-Team, it's like, come on, they're not going to compete. Give me the SmackDown team.
Absolutely.
If you think the Raw team, don't download this podcast.
No, at all, because you don't know what you're talking about. All right, so the Raw Tag Team Champions, AOP, versus the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, The Bar.
This is a tough one to pick.
This is so hard. This is probably the toughest match on this card.
But I think where they're at right now, the Authors of Pain deserve the win to get over, to elevate them a little bit more on Raw, because if you look at it, the SmackDown brand in terms of tag team is way over, and you're going to give them the Survivor Series win, so why not have AOP win the champ versus champ matchup? So give me the Raw Tag Team Champs, the Authors of Pain. So
we talked about this when the Authors of Pain won the Raw Tag Team belts. We said that they have to reset and they have to reboot the Raw Tag Division because it's absolute trash. It's garbage. It's absolutely garbage. I don't think you make that worse here by having the Bar beat them. I think you make it better by having AOP go over. AOP has to go over. Buddy Murphy, who is the Cruiserweight champion, takes on Mustafa Ali. You love Mustafa Ali.
I like him.
I like Mustafa Ali as well.
But for this matchup, Buddy Murphy's just kicking off a great year, underrated Cruiserweight champ. Give me Buddy Murphy in a great match. I think this one could be underrated in terms of what people are expecting. It's going to be a great match.
Just to be different, I'm going to go Mustafa Ali.
That'd be great, too.
Just to be different. So with calling the card, Jock leads 7 to 5.5 over the Doc. The ones that we have that are different, I've got Seth Rollins winning, you've got Nakamura winning, and then I've got Mustafa Ali winning, you've got Buddy Murphy. Otherwise, we're pretty much in lockstep here, which doesn't surprise, I think, either one of us.
Exactly.
All right, you want some news and notes?
This week's Jock's news and notes. Hit me with it.
I've got a ton. WWE will stop the overrun time for the third hour of Raw. So that means they will be hard-timed and out at 11 p.m. from now on going forward. Rumors are on Brock Lesnar's new WWE contract per Dave Meltzer. It looks like Lesnar will be around until at least April of 2019. So right around WrestleMania, maybe a little bit after. Don't be surprised if we get a Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar match and Drew walks away with the belt. Like I said, Drew McIntyre is being set up to have a rocket strapped to his back. He is going to be the new next big thing in WWE. Word is Braun Strowman's dealing with some knee pain. Like his knees are absolutely shot. Like they're done, like bone on bone. And it has slowed him down just a little bit. That's why you really haven't seen him wrestle on a lot of shows on Monday Night Raw. The F5 over the top rope at the Crown Jewel really and truly just made him worse. So you see him kind of being involved, but not really being involved. That would be why. Rusev and Lana are unhappy yet again. You can go and check out their Twitter. There's a ton of tweets directed at WWE and the creative direction with their characters. Alexa Bliss is still dealing with some post-concussion syndrome. She had a few concussions back to back to back, so WWE is proceeding with caution with her. Don't buy that she is retiring. There are things out there online that they're like, oh, Alexa Bliss is retiring. She's not retiring. Doesn't sound like she's retiring. Go check out her Twitter. Doesn't sound like she's retiring. She's just dealing with some head trauma from having a couple concussions back to back to back. Also dealing with a concussion, Zelina Vega, who suffered a brain injury at Evolution. This is when, guess who? Yeah, that's right, Nia Jax threw her over the top rope to the ground. So are we seeing a common thread here? Are we seeing something? Who is very, very dangerous in the ring? If you said Nia Jax, you're right. She's absolutely a trash. Just horrible. Awful. Back in, I believe it was June, New Japan's Naito had a meeting with WWE regarding a contract offer at his favorite cafe in Japan. During the meeting, Naito was offended by something the WWE execs either offered him or said to him. Somehow they upset him. He ends up excusing himself to go to the bathroom. Rather go use the restroom, he dips out the back on WWE. So he leaves the executives at the table and stiffs them with the bill. If that's not a funny story, I don't know what is. And if you know anything about New Japan, you know anything about Naito, Naito's a G. This was awesome. Sticking with ROH and New Japan, Cody Rhodes has a torn meniscus. He did this during a show where he was trying to throw a T-shirt. A really weird injury. He was just trying to hand out a T-shirt. He heard a pop, felt something weird. Wasn't able to wrestle this past weekend. Going forward, he's going to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. He will be wrestling. They're going to go in, they're going to scope the knee, clean it up a little bit, and he's going to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. After that, he will be having surgery, so you won't be seeing him for a little bit because they're going to have to repair this meniscus. Also, it's being reported that Impact is looking for a new TV home. Pop TV moved them to 10 p.m., and it seems like that's basically the straw that broke the camel's back here. It's kind of a done deal. They're done doing business with each other. The contract will expire in 2019, so Impact looking for a new home for their television show.
Wow. Okay. Any rumors as to where they might land?
I have no idea yet.
It's tough, right?
They would love to go back to Spike, but Spike no longer exists. It's now the Paramount Television Network.
Right.
And they're not looking to do any of that, so I don't really know where they go. Maybe, I mean, you've got SmackDown going to Fox Sports, right? Fox Sports is kind of getting in on this wrestling thing. I don't know if WWE would be cool with Fox doing that. NBC doesn't seem to want anything to do with wrestling. I don't know. I have no idea. Now, Pop TV is owned by CBS, I believe. So really weird there. There's going to be a station that will come up where they can go. I'm just not sure. They're going to want some money, though. It's a better product, a much better product than what it used to be. So it deserves a good TV home that all of us can get it and all of us can watch it. I do recommend you check it out if you do have access to Pop TV.
Want to thank the strong supporters of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. The Breaking Down the Ring podcast airs live every Wednesday around 9:15 on the Podcast Detroit platform. Definitely go download the app and follow them at BDRcast. All of their social media is located at BDRcast. And always follow our friend Dennis Farrell, the Wrestling Perspective Podcast. He does great work. Follow him on Twitter at Dennis77Farrell, WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. Thanks to Joe Boo and to Adam for following along this week with wrestling. If you like Raw, SmackDown you're watching, feel free, shoot us a message. Feel free, shoot us a message at Detroit Podcast. You can follow Adam at AdamRSTROZ. If you want to leave a voicemail after Survivor Series, it's open, 248-579-8686. 248-579-8686. Definitely follow along this Sunday during Survivor Series. We'll be watching and peeking as well. Thanks, everybody. We greatly appreciate it. You've just downloaded and listened to the latest episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast, episode 56, cuz. Change it on your sheet.
It's 56?
You're week behind, brother.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's all good. It's funny.
I thought it was 50.
You're behind. I looked it up.
My bad.
See y'all later. Looking forward to recapping Survivor Series and another great week of wrestling. Peace out, y'all.
Thanks, guys, for texting and Twittering and leaving messages. We really do appreciate it.